Hi, this is Elizabeth Malkin. I'm a reporter with the New York Times in the Mexico City Bureau. And we're here with Israel Concha to talk about what it's like for people who come back from the United States to Mexico, either because they were their families were deported, they were deported, or they decided to return of their own accord. People are really have to adapt. And right now with the election of Donald Trump, there's a lot of concern in Mexico that there are going to be many more deportations. And I'm here with Israel to talk a little bit about what this experience is like, coming back to Mexico when you have in fact grown up in the U.S., you're American, your whole frame of reference is the United States. So we're in Mexico City today. So Israel, I'm going to ask you to tell a little bit of your first story, your life story, what it was like, how you grew up in Texas, and then what happened to you.
Well, thank you, Elizabeth, for the invitation. Hello, everyone. Greetings from Mexico City. Well, my name is Israel Concha, and I'm the director of Homeworkmx, and I'm also the co-founder of New Comienzos, which is a nonprofit here in Mexico, which helps bilingual people, dreamers, repatriated people and their families in emergency situations. So that's what we do here in Mexico. Now, why am I doing this? Well, it's something I can identify myself with. I've been dealing with this for all my life. I arrived the U.S., Texas, when I was 2 years old, and I lived there all my life. As a matter of fact, I was deported 2 years ago. So coming to Mexico, which is also my country, it's very difficult for you to adapt. But you see me, I look Hispanic. I am Hispanic, but in my mind, I'm also American. You know, I went to school in the United States, elementary, junior high, high school. I went to college. I graduated business administration, and but there was a problem because I was undocumented. I didn't have any legal status. I could not find a job. So I decided to start a business, and that's what I did. I started a transportation business, a taxi cab company, a limo company, a shuttle company, a concierge service, and I was employing American people, you know, and I was a model citizen, or at least I tried to be. But one day, because I was undocumented, I got pulled over. And I was speeding, I'm not gonna lie. And what was going to be, something so simple as getting a ticket, for me, that's when my nightmare started.
Can you tell me when that was? What year was that?
That was, I'll never forget, November 2012. Mm-hmm. Yes, so I started this.
And how old were you at that point?
Well, I'm now 38, so yes, I was about 36. I always lived in the U.S., that's the only thing I know, America. Mm-hmm. So yes, so I get pulled over. Whenever I needed to provide a driver's license, I wasn't able to, and guess what? I got arrested. Whenever I went to the county, that's when they saw that I was undocumented, that I had no social security number, and a civil matter became a huge problem for me because I was fighting my case. But
you were where? In San Antonio?
I was in San Antonio. I was in maybe like 4 different immigration facilities because I was fighting my case. I wanted to prove to everyone that I deserved an opportunity. And I fought my case for about 1.5 years. And at the end, well, you know, just because I didn't have direct family members that could fix my status, even though I lived with my uncles and my cousins, which for me, they're my parents, my mom and dad, and my brothers and sister. You know, that's all I know. They are a direct family, you know. But because of that little problem, I got deported. Okay, well, once again, you know, it was time for me to rebuild my life. What's sad is because of what happened, I lost everything. I lost my company, I lost my house, everything. Now, when I was detained...
You had a family too.
Oh, yes, and I lost my family as well. As a matter of fact, my ex-wife, she was pregnant, and when I got detained, you know, during that time frame, that's when my son was born. And I got to meet him just once in person, and it was during a hearing. And it's very sad because he was so close to me, but yet so far, because I could not talk to him, I couldn't hug him, I couldn't kiss him, and all because of the undocumented status, you know. So it's been very sad, but there's also good things about what I'm doing in my life. Now, whenever I got deported, the first day in Mexico,
can you just describe that experience of being deported? Because I think a lot of people don't know what happens during that time. How do you physically arrive in Mexico? What happened to you?
And I thank you guys for the opportunity so I can, share my story. I'm pretty sure there's thousands of other stories out there that are similar to mine, but this is what I went through. Remember, I'm bilingual. I know the system. As a matter of fact, now I'm an expert when it comes to these immigration laws. But I got to meet people that didn't speak English, or they didn't even speak Spanish. For example, there's some people from Guatemala. There's a certain area in Guatemala where they speak a dialect, which is Quiché. Imagine if I was feeling frustrated during all this time. Imagine what was going through their heads, you know. I met so many people. I met people that the only thing they did wrong was trying to provide for their family. They did have to get false papers, you know, and of course that's a federal offense, and they were doing serious time for that. And then you would see them talk to their family, crying, their kids crying. It's the human side, you know, all this is very unfortunate. Now, my first day in Mexico, you know, it's very unfortunate because whenever we were on the bus, dropped off at the border.
Which town was this?
This was in Laredo,
okay.
Texas.
Right.
Whenever we get off the bus and they take us towards the bridge, you know, the actual line that divides the U.S. with Mexico, you give one step, and then the agents give 2 steps. As a matter of fact, with their hands, they would do this. Go, go, go. I felt horrible, you know. That's my country back there, you know, and now you're telling me to leave. I felt like zero, you know, like nothing, like scum in a way, you know. Well, all this time I was detained, about 1.5 years, I never cried. But for some reason at that moment, whenever I was crossing the line, whenever I saw on the side of the bridge, this is the U.S. and this is Mexico, my whole life flashed, you know, in front of my eyes. And that's when I started tearing up. I was thinking about my family. That's about my life I left, but mainly my family. Just imagine, you know, you leave children behind. You try to do good. You try to provide. You're a good member of society. You give people jobs, and then the next thing you know, you're being deported. Once I arrived in Mexico, you go through a little section where they give you a document that proves that you're also a Mexican citizen. From there, it was about 15 of us that got deported. We asked, where's the bus station, you know, because usually that's the meeting point for people to meet with families or to go to their places of birth or where their family or friends are. We asked, they gave us directions, and they told us to just walk about 5 blocks away. But guess what? 3 blocks away, we get pulled over by what I thought was the Mexican authorities. So they start asking us, where are you from? Where are you from? Where are you from? Well, I made the first mistake being in Mexico. I told everyone that I was from Mexico City. For some reason, people from Mexico City are not well liked in other parts of the country. I didn't know that.
That's part of the adaptation of coming to Mexico and learning all the codes.
Definitely. Well, they put me aside, right? Me and some other guy. And I was thinking, well, they're probably going to take me to the police station. They're going to interrogate me, and then they'll let me go. They'll see that I was deported. Well, it got worse. That was a real nightmare. What happened is that they handcuffed me. It wasn't really handcuffs. It was some kind of plastic. And then they covered my face. And I was like being arrested. And what's funny about this is that the guys were even like stepping, putting their feet on top of me. I was laying down on the back of a pickup truck, which now I know they're like police cars, patrols. And next thing you know, when the vehicle stops, we weren't going to the police station. It was actually a security house, and I was being kidnapped. So, yeah, that's how the story goes. It's horrible. Being in Mexico my first day, this happened. Whenever they were going through my papers, they saw an FBI document. To give you an idea, whenever you leave a detention center or even a prison, a federal facility, the government does a background check on you, a federal background check, and to see if you don't have any other crimes, right? So it's from the FBI. Well, these guys were looking at my documents from the FBI, and they were accusing me of being a DEA agent, Agencia Antinarcóticos. They were scared. They thought I was like the enemy. They thought I was like working for the U.S. government. So they tortured me. It was really bad. I got beat up to the point where I just lost consciousness. I passed out, and whenever I woke up, I want to say it was the next day. This young person, I'll never forget him. Like a 13-year-old boy comes and brings me food. That's when I realized the problem I was in. He told me that where we were at was a security house. I did see a lot of people. Supposedly they were from Central America. That was like a meeting point where they would take them to the States to relax that I was being kidnapped. They were asking my family for money, but he made a mistake. He left the window open. So I still remember, my body was in so much pain, but I figured out a way of climbing the window to the roof of the house, going towards the back of the house, jumping to like an empty lot, and just running as much as I could towards straight, which I ended up hitting an avenue, like a freeway. In my mind, I was going like 100 miles per hour, but in reality, I think I was going really slow. I was really hurt. Well, once I was on the freeway, I started waving my hands, right? And all of a sudden, a vehicle pulls over. I'll never forget this. It was a family, and the first thing that came out of my mouth was, "I was kidnapped. I've escaped. I'll give you 10,000 pesos if you take me to Mexico City." And now think about it, guys. This is a border town. These family members were used to seeing all this violence. Do you really think anyone would pick someone up, especially a guy all beat up? They don't want to get in trouble. Well, this family did. And they brought me to Mexico City, and that's how I escaped this nightmare, pretty much.
And in Mexico City, who was here waiting for you?
Nobody. All my family is in the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
I did go to the hospital. They took me to the hospital. Now that I see the paperwork, I was admitted for a whole week in the hospital.
Oh my goodness!
So yes, you can imagine how beat up I was.
Right.
Well, as soon as I was released, I looked for a job. That was the first thing I had in my mind. Start over again. Israel. You can do it. You've been through a lot, but you can do it. I found a job at a call center.
Mm-hmm.
And fortunately, because of my bilingual skills, I was able to get hired right away. So that's how I was able to start life in Mexico. Later on, I reconnected with family members. I reconnected with my real dad, who was living in another state. He came to Mexico City to visit me. But since then, I've been living on my own. I've been building a lot of great things, and that's what I want to talk to you guys about as well.
Let me ask you, before we get to that, a little bit about the people that you met in the call center. I mean, you kind of found a place where a lot of people had been through a similar experience. What did people talk about? What is the difficulty of adapting? What do people struggle with most when they come back?
Well, spaces like this are very important because you guys get to see exactly what's going on at this moment, how people that are undocumented suffer in the United States and in Mexico. For example, here in Mexico, they see you with tattoos, the way you speak, the way you dress, the way you move in a way. You're also discriminated, something that you would have never thought in your own country in a way, And a lot of the guys I've met in these call centers, that's the first thing they say. One of the most important things is insecurity, a lot of people walk nearby and they're holding on to their purses, but what they don't know is that maybe they're the first ones that are like robbing you. A lot of guys say that, security is very important. Also, when they get here, they don't have a way to prove citizenship. Remember that paper I was telling you about? It's just a photocopy, and they won't accept it for a job, for your medical, for nothing. It's just so you can get a 10% discount on your bus trip, pretty much. So
and they give you a sandwich and a juice, right?
They do give you a sandwich and a juice, but believe me, with all those Johnny Sacks you eat while you're detained, you don't want that. Johnny Sack is like a brown bag with a sandwich, a juice, and an orange. So,
that's what they give you in the U.S. in the
US.
detention centers.
So just imagine, just a year and a half eating all that stuff. So
so then you get your fruitsy or whatever in Mexico, and that's not so great.
Yes.
So people come here, they've come back, they've had to leave family behind in the U.S., perhaps an American child or American wife, or brothers and sisters who are U.S. citizens when they deported because they were not born in the U.S. And how do they become Mexican? How did you become Mexican, or did you become Mexican?
Well, something really funny here. If you go back last year, Obama administration, the first trimester, there were a lot more deportations than this first trimester with Trump. But for us, and in a minute I'll tell you what I do, but for us, there's a mass hysteria right now. If a person is being deported, now their whole family is coming back to Mexico, So for us, we're getting really busy trying to help people that are barely coming back. So how do you become Mexican? Well, remember, in a way, you've always been Mexican. It's also in your blood. It's your culture, even while you're in the United States. But you're also American. So I always say that we're a different breed. We're not from the U.S. because they don't want us there, and we're not from Mexico because they can't understand us here. And it's something we go through a lot. But fortunately, we formed a group called Uniting Dreams, and pretty much it's a group of different nonprofits in Mexico, also with the help of Consejo Ciudadano, which is a nonprofit that helps people with psychological help or also legal problems. Also, Eunice Rendon, she's doing a lot for immigrants. She's really supporting all these groups. So we kind of found a network where we can communicate with many people that are going through problems.
Let's talk about that. Why don't you tell me about the different services that your company, well, it's not a company, it's an NGO, Workforce provides. What, if people who are listening right now maybe are perhaps worried and thinking about coming back to Mexico, or they have a friend or a family member who has been sent back to Mexico, what do they need, and what do you provide, or where else can they find help?
Yes, and please contact us. If that is the case, we're here to help. Because of everything I've been through and everything a lot of my co-workers have been through, we have this strong network. So if you're thinking about coming back to Mexico, or if it's an immigration issue or a family member that's detained, please give them our information. Our website is www.newcomienzos.org, and it'll probably be posted on the Facebook page. Please contact us. Let us know what we could do to help. These are the services we offer. We help people in emergency situations. So when you get here and you don't have a place to stay, we work with many shelters. So you can have a place to stay, have your meals, and start getting support from a caseworker. Also, if you need a job, we're well connected to the point that if you apply for a job, in less than 24 hours, if everything goes well, you'll get a job offer and you'll start working the next Monday. Now the pay, I'll say it in pesos, it's up to 12,000 pesos a month plus commissions.
And these are call center jobs. So
Now,
we're talking about bilingual, people who
Yes.
are bilingual.
This will be for people that are bilingual, and these are call center jobs. We're expanding the network. Just think about it. People that have so much knowledge, so much technical expertise in different fields like tourism, like agriculture. We're working even with government entities, so we can revalidate your studies, your technical stuff. You can get an actual diploma and get paid better than not having any document. Even your English. Right now, with Eunice Rendon and Consejo Ciudadano, instead of paying about $300 for a certification and having to wait 6 months, you can take that test right away, and it's free.
Who's giving the test?
Yes, it's through Eunice Rendon and Consejo Ciudadano and us New Comienzos, as well as Dream in Mexico, which is another nonprofit that helps. If you're a dreamer and you come back to Mexico, there's also scholarships, and we're talking about, for example, Tec de Monterrey, which is like the Mexican Harvard, is giving dreamers opportunities. A lot of doors are opening up, so I can tell you this. The American dream, you can also have it in Mexico. So that's what I can tell you. There's so many good opportunities right now. So if that's your decision, or if there's something that you're forced to come back to Mexico, please contact us. We're here to help.
Yeah. And you're also the Consejo Ciudadano. It's a Mexico City organization that it provides all kinds of services. They're also looking at giving psychological help, which is something that has been ignored until now, I think.
Yes, like in my case, remember, I went through all this, and then realizing that I wasn't going to be able to see my family. For example, my son Mason, he's able to come back. His mom is able to come to Mexico, but unfortunately, because of what happened to me and all the stuff you see on TV, of course, I would die if something happens to them. So my only communication is through social media, like Facebook, like Skype, for example. A lot of us need that psychological help, Right now, it is being provided. You get assistance over the phone. We're trying to make it to where you can be one-on-one with a specialist that can help you go through all this, even if it's months, even if it's years. But that's a support that's being provided by these nonprofits. And there's a lot more coming. So please check out our website. It's newcomienzos.org.
Okay, we'll put that up so that people can see it. Now, I want you to. A couple of people have been asking why you didn't apply for U.S. citizenship. Can you explain that again?
Yes. Well, remember, I've been through this all my life, and I would have loved to. I can tell you that a lot of people that have that benefit of applying for U.S. citizenship, they don't do it. They don't even want to. They just want to remain as a legal resident. And then years later, something happens. They catch a DWI, and they end up getting deported because they didn't want to take advantage of that. In my case, I never had the opportunity because remember, in order for you to apply, you need to be in the U.S. for 5 years or more and have direct family members that are asking for you. When I say direct, it's your parents, your siblings, or your children. And now I have children in the States, but they need to be 21 and up. Now there was protection, DACA, you know, for childhood arrival, people that didn't have documents. Well, whenever that law passed, guess what? I was already too old, so I kind of got stuck in the system once again. But believe me, I tried everything possible, even through my company, because I was giving jobs to American citizens, but unfortunately, all doors were closed.
Right.
Yes.
And then somebody asked again. I just want to clarify this. You were not deported for committing any crime in the U.S.
That's a good question. No, I have a clean criminal record. That's the thing, you know. And a lot of people, or this is happening right now. There's a big story that came out yesterday or maybe 2 days ago about a dreamer that was deported. The first dreamer.
Yeah.
Yes. So this is happening, guys. And once again, I'm fortunate to tell my story. And no, I have a clean criminal record.
Okay. We are taking questions both in English y los que quieren preguntar en español, bienvenidos. Estamos también sacando eso en nuestra página de NYT en español porque al fin y al cabo es una situación bicultural y queremos escuchar, tomar todas las preguntas que tengan. What about the job options here? What you talked about call centers, and call centers are a good option to start off with for people who are bilingual. Is that right?
Yes, they are. And but there's something that happens here. Something I would say it's a problem. The average life of a call center agent is 8 months or less. So it is a good option for that emergency situation where you need to get established, get an apartment, you know, start building something. But we need a lot more options. Now, fortunately, today we had a meeting with the federal government, the Secretaria de Gobernación.
That's kind of it's kind of the homeland government. It's hard to do it. Explain it. It covers a lot of different functions, but a lot of them involve migrants.
Definitely, it's like a really big area of the government, and they are involved with one program that helps in this immigration problems. People that are dreamers, repatriated people, bilingual people that are coming back from the U.S. and their family members. It's called the program Somos Mexicanos. So we want to work together with the federal government to where they give us the tools. So instead of helping people right now in Mexico City, in Guadalajara, in León, we can help people nationwide in Mexico, even from the U.S. For example, if you're thinking about coming to Mexico, or even your family member that's detained, you can already start looking for a job for them, trying to set up an interview, or even get assistance at a shelter, psychological assistance, or even there's also help where because you just got repatriated, the government does help you with funds. So that's what we're trying to do.
Do you think the government is just sort of getting its act together now because of Donald Trump? I mean, it's true under President Obama, more than 2 million Mexicans were deported back to Mexico, and you are one of them. How is the Mexican government kind of changing its approach? You didn't get any help at all, right?
We didn't get any help at all, but I can see now that the government, at least in my eyes, they are trying to help. They're trying to build initiatives. There's a couple of initiatives to revalidate your studies. They are trying, but at the same time, we're talking about people that never experienced this, that don't really understand what's going on. A lot of these people, other people like the meeting we had today, I think it went well. The point is that there's a lot to be done. there is an initiative, but we're still waiting to get answers to actually for the government to tell us, you know what, Israel, you know what, New Comienzos and all these nonprofits, let's go ahead and work this way. Here's the funding. We're going to give you the green light. I did want to tell you about this system I created. It's very unique.
Okay, we'll give it a plug, but it's helpful. I mean, so that people can get access to information here.
That's the thing. Whenever someone is looking for a job or for assistance, just by entering certain keywords like bilingual, job, emergency, repatriated, this system we have, it'll look for those specific keywords, and right away it'll contact you. We'll send you an email asking if you need help, if you need a job, and right away there's that connection established. And we can pretty much use this system throughout Mexico to help all the people that are repatriated. Another thing I wanted to tell you, I would also love for the consulates, the Mexican consulates and the Mexican embassy to actually give out all this information that we're helping people. It's always good to receive this while you're detained or in America or at school, knowing there's options, because like in my case, I didn't know anything. I didn't even know where the bus station was, and look at what happened to me. So there's a lot of work to be done, and the government has all the intentions in the world for the people I've talked to. But once again, we're waiting to see results.
Right. We just got a question from somebody who wants to know if you can go back to the U.S. as a tourist.
That's a very good question. Because I was deported, I have a 10-year ban. Now, once again, I became very knowledgeable with these immigration laws. I've always done things the right way. Remember, when I arrived at the U.S., I was a little kid. I didn't decide what I wanted to do, you know. And there is an option. I just have to wait 10 years. And I do miss my family a lot. There's a saying that home is where your family is. And I do miss them a lot. But at the same time, I want to do things the right way. And also building this to be able to help other people so they won't go through what I went through and hundreds of other people went through.
Yeah. No, I think that's... I think it's very important to have this network that's both government and NGOs and people who know what's necessary to, here to help people.
Definitely. Yeah. And in a way, it's thanks to President Trump that now we're getting the attention, because this has been a crisis that's been going on for years. But now, finally, the Mexican federal government is realizing that it's a problem, and they're estimating for thousands of people to be coming back to Mexico. So at the same time, we're getting ready, and also if you're a Mexican national living in the U.S. but you want to come back to your country and you're wondering if there's opportunities, right now we could see that there are. Mm-hmm. And especially because of all the people that are coming back, we're bringing all this knowledge, we're bringing all this experience, and that's to better the Mexican economy as well.
Okay. I also was wondering if we could introduce Elias, who's just begun working with you here at Workforce. He's lived in North Carolina for many years. And why don't you tell everybody your story?
Hi everybody. My name is Iris Vasquez. I used to live in Charlotte, North Carolina. I lived there for 8 years. I started my elementary, my middle school, and 1 year of high school. Going to the United States was a really, really, really nice experience. I really miss my friends a lot. I have family there as well. Coming here to Mexico was kind of hard for me and my family as well, because...
How old were you when you came back?
I was 16.
And you were how old when you went to the U.S.?
I was 7.
7. And so you were taken undocumented by your family?
Yes. Yes, actually, while we crossed the border, I remember we had to go walking through the desert, and there was like rattlesnakes there, and it was kind of scary now that I realize. But actually, as a kid, I just saw it like, you know, it's something you have to do. And I believe that the people that go through that experience and that have to risk their life to provide for their family, they, well, I admire them, right? I really admire what they do, and they're really brave, but they risk a lot, right? And I just want to let people know that if they are looking for some other options here, if they unfortunately get deported or anything like that, that we are trying to help, and that we are really trying to do a lot of other things so that not only people here in Mexico City have some more options as well. We want to work and make it make this type of thing go national. So yeah.
And very quickly, because we're coming to the end of our time, although we have a lot of people and a lot of comments, so I think we've been able to really reach to a lot of people with these stories. Why did your family come back?
My family came back because my dad's license had expired, and my dad was working 2 jobs. My mom used to be at night, well, at like 2 a.m. in the morning, having to go and pick my dad up from his job, and that went on for like about a year. They were always very careful with everything. They wanted to be really quiet and not get any type of trouble or problems, and that's what they taught us, right? But unfortunately, they were really tired after a year of going through that, and my mom was getting a little bit sick. So she was like, you know what, we've worked hard, we have to go back to Mexico, you know, to see the rest of the family. But my dad got robbed and stuff like that when he had to wait at night. And
this was in North Carolina.
Yeah, that was in North Carolina. He was outside, and you know, he was waiting for my mom. My mom was about to get there, but he was robbed, and he was well, he was really frightened, right, to be at night at that time. So yeah, that's the main reason why.
And you came back to Mexico City?
No, we actually went to Oaxaca.
Is that where your family is from?
Yes.
Yeah.
So hi to everybody from Oaxaca. And just to let people know, right? Some of my family is like, oh, with Donald Trump, we might get deported, and I'm so worried. And well, I just want to let them know that there are a lot of options here in Mexico.
Okay. Well, thanks a lot. I really appreciate you guys sharing your stories with us, and maybe we can continue the conversation with more people, because this is going to be an issue for a while. Thanks so much.
Thank you for the opportunity, and once again, we're here to assist with anyone that needs help, emergency service. We're here for you guys, so thank you very much.
Okay. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.